What's up? How you doing? Beautiful night tonight. It's not night yet, but it's getting there. It's around 7:15 right now, and pretty soon it's going to be dark. Fresh water, fresh delicious water. So I have some laundry for tonight, and Tide. I grew up on Tide. I used to see these commercials, you know, like all temperature chair. Dynamo was another one. I don't think Dynamo's still around. What's another one? See, I don't use them anymore, so of course we know Downy is to make them nice and soft. Whisk was another one. Whisk was not a detergent for everything, although it would work, but that was like they would show the lady if you had a ring around the collar, she would take Whisk and pour it on the collar and it would clean it out, because a lot of times they would show a commercial, the guy would get his laundry back and put it on, and the lady would say, "Oh, Bob, you have a ring around the collar," and he's like, "What should I do?" And she would say, "You gotta try Whisk." Here come the crows are coming. I see the crows gathering. Anyway, there was a bunch of ones, and I would say, why don't we use a different, you know, a nice colorful one, dark blue, liquid, whatever. And my mother would always get Tide. I don't know where she got the idea about Tide. So then I got a little bit older, got my own place, and I started experimenting with different detergents. And I quickly realized that nothing cleans as good as Tide. This one here, Tide, that's the standard. I bought a good smelling cheaper one time, and I said, it smells pretty good, you know. And I remember I put the clothes in and I had it wash and wash and wash. I took them out, they were clean, but not Tide clean. I hate to say it, but that's a mama's boy. He's rushing to get home to his mom. Anyway, so I quickly realized that Tide, whatever the ingredient is in there that makes things clean, has a lot more of it than the other brands do. So I highly recommend Tide. But every once in a while, I add some of this Borax. Borax cleans everything, but it mainly enhances the power of your detergent. So if I have some whites, I don't want to use bleach and break them down, I will put some Borax in there, and I always rinse a couple of times, make sure all that stuff's out. But Borax works for a lot of things. Apparently, you know, you can use it in the toilet, anything in the house, it'll clean it. And if you mix Borax, I think it's, what is it, 3 parts sugar, 1 part Borax, or the other way around, 3 parts Borax, 1 part sugar, I don't know. And you mix that up, and if you have, I don't know, some kind of bug in the house, you'll get rid of it with this, because this is a poison to insects. And then Arm & Hammer. I'm a big fan of this stuff. This stuff neutralizes acid. This stuff is good for your fridge, so you don't have cross-contamination of smells. It's good for your freezer, so your ice doesn't smell like food. Mine does not smell like that. We use ice frequently, so it never sits around long enough to smell like a sandwich. But this stuff absorbs odors. Says change every 30 days. I don't have it for that. I have it for cleaning stuff. That's good. And then I have a brush. Clean metal with it, not your teeth. It'll strip the enamel right off. But yeah. So I'm out here, we're waiting for dinner coming. We ordered something tonight, but very peaceful. I see a couple of birds flying around. I like birds, but I don't want to have them in a cage, because birds, they're the freest animal on the planet, and to put them in a cage, you have to give the bird Prozac after, because that'll depress the bird. I know eventually they become institutionalized, where they don't want to leave the cage because they're so used to being in this cage. And a lot of people think, oh, well, the bird's happy because it doesn't want to leave the cage. No, the bird has become institutionalized. It's like a person who has spent 50 years in prison, and then they finally say, hey, you made parole, you're being released. And then they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They've been conditioned to feel comfortable in that environment, just like a bird. But I know at the beginning a bird must have a hard time in there. But you know, I mean, I'd get a bird if it would stay in the backyard. You know, I'd release it and I'd have like a birdhouse, and it could come and go as it wishes. But I know the bird would not stay long. It would take off. Even the crows that are extremely intelligent, they only come back a few times, then they leave. I've said this before, I saved a pigeon one time. I found a pigeon in my backyard. It was wounded. It had a broken wing. You can only fly with 2 wings. You can't fly with 1. So I went and I grabbed it. It was kind of like trying to get away from me, but I said, I am no danger to you. I will heal you. I have the technology. So I brought it into my basement, where I had to put it in a you know, cage thing. But I had a big area that was like, you know, wasn't like a squishy area. It was a big area where I put the bird inside. And I said, I'm gonna fix the wing. So this was many years ago. So I fed it every day. And after, I think, about 3 months of this, I brought it up to my room and I gave it a test flight. And the bird started flapping around. It was flying around in my room, flying around. So I said to the bird, like they did in Kung Fu, I said, it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to leave. So I went out to the backyard and I got a red ribbon. I tied the red ribbon around the bird's foot, a little short one, you know. I tied it and I said, well, I want to let you go, and this way I'll be able to recognize you if you ever come back. So I threw the bird up in the air, and we had a big oak tree in the backyard. My mother had the clothesline attached to that, and the bird flew up and it sat on the top branch, and it was looking at me and I was looking at the bird. And this went on for about 10 minutes, bird watching me and I was watching the bird. Wow, here come the crows. Anyway, it's like Bourbon Street for the crows. So then the bird took off, and I said, oh, well, it'll be back. And I never saw it again. Did not come back. I don't know what happened to it. I told my father, I said, I put a ribbon around the foot. And he said, that ribbon got taken off with its beak. Although I did a good, I didn't tie it tight though, that's the thing. I had it kind of like loose. But yeah, probably with the beak it picked it apart and probably said, what the hell's that thing on my foot? But I did heal it. I kept it, you know, for the summer there, and I gave it some good food, some good pigeon food. Yeah, they're circling, these crows. And then many years ago, I found this cat. I was out on the sidewalk in front of my house, and this black cat, looked like a panther, came up to me, started rubbing its, you know, side on my foot, my leg here, and it wouldn't leave. It was very friendly, so I grabbed it and I picked it up, and as I picked it up I noticed that it had a big cut underneath the armpit area that you could see into the body. It's about a cut that big, and I said this cat will die of an infection like in the Civil War, you know, all these soldiers dying from infections. So I put it in my motor car. I had a little motor car back then. Had a Mazda 626. I liked that car, but it was old. It was old when I got it. It was like 12 years old. They had 113,000 miles on it, but for me it was fine. And I put the cat in there, and about a mile and a half from my house there was a veterinarian, not a Vietnam vet, but a veterinarian. And I went in there and I said, yeah, the cat, I go, has a cut here, I found it, can you repair that? And he goes, yeah, sure. And I said, all right, how much? Because I didn't want to go back and see a bill that I couldn't pay. And then I didn't know what I was going to do, you know. But anyway, so he goes to me, let me see here. So he put on a bunch of things there, you know, stitch it, antibiotics, you know, list of things. And he gives me the paper back, and he says $98. And I said, oh, I go, that's fine, do it. So shaved the cat about a distance of that much, shaved it off nice and smooth like a track 2, and then they sewed the cat up, and then he calls me up and he said, your cat's ready. So I went, I picked up the cat, brought it home, and I kept it. Now that is my cat, I get to name it. I named it Big John Wallace. And then my sister got involved and she named it Max. That's not your cat, you can't name it Max. That's my cat. I went, I paid the freight on the cat to heal. I found the cat, that's my cat. The cat's name is Big John Wallace. I don't know, I mean, like you buy a pet and I come in and I name it? No. So I named it Big John Wallace because I paid for the cat's healing. I found the cat belongs to me. Now it's not like it belongs to me where, you know, it's like an object. I understand it's not an object, but it was my cat. I was taking care of it, so I get to name it. That's it. Plus Max, you know, that's a common name people pick for a dog or a cat. I don't know why they Max, you know, Maximilian, cool name. I like the name Max for a human being, but a lot of people think Max German Shepherd. They say Max, oh, that German Shepherd. But I don't like to use those kind of boring names. And I don't mean boring like you're tired of hearing the name, but what I mean is that it's a common name that you're tired of hearing for a dog. For a human, you don't hear Max that often. It's a good name, but not for a dog. You know, I remember Max, was it a Heart to Heart? Was he the butler or something? Max. You know, I like names like, if you get a cat, Michaela the cat. I remember there was a show years ago. I loved this show. I used to get up early to watch it. It used to come on at like 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings. This is when I was in my prime, you know, when I would watch cartoons in the morning there. I know I mention these cartoon things a lot, but it had a big impact on me. I enjoyed my Saturdays mainly because of the cartoons. It gave you a sense of well-being, especially that Friday night, or that you know, and the last period of school Friday, and you've been excited that Saturday was coming and you had the cartoons to look forward to. And for me, not only the cartoons, but Friday night was Donnie and Marie show, and they would do that song at the end, "May tomorrow be a perfect day," and then that would set me up, get me all euphoric. I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up at 7, and I'd watch, it was a live drama. In other words, it wasn't a cartoon, but it was called Run, Joe, Run. And it was about a dog who had committed a murder. The dog murdered somebody, but the dog was innocent. and they had some guy from the military chasing it throughout the series. Gotta find a dog. Yeah, that's what you guys do. It's like the dog bit somebody in real life, like now, and then they have like the special forces looking for the dog for like 8 years. But anyway, that was the premise. And you know, when you're a kid, that sounds good. So I used to watch that. And I don't know, I think the dog's name, it was oh, wow, that tree had like about 100 crows. They just flipped off. But anyway, Joe was the dog's name, not Max, but hence why they called the show Run, Joe, Run, right? Otherwise it would have been Run, Max, Run. And I think, wasn't Max on the $6 Million Man or something, or the Bionic Woman? I don't know what they call that dog. But I had a neighbor, I was friends with the kids. They ended up buying a white German Shepherd, and they named it Max. And then the mother accidentally, it was an accident, ran it over with the car. She was reversing down the driveway, and the dog, I don't know, the dog was lying underneath sleeping, I don't know what, and the dog didn't make it. So then they bought another one, exactly the same, white German Shepherd, and they called it Max again. Couldn't tell the difference, it looked the same. And then something happened to that dog. I think he got hit by a car too. In those days, people would just let their dogs out to walk. They didn't walk them like now. You see people with a chain or a leash made out of thick leather, carrying a glove with a little bag, deposit stuff in there. Yeah, when I was a kid, they would open up the door, German Shepherd would take off. You'd see these German Shepherds roaming around on their own, taking crap on the sidewalk, leaving it there for somebody to step in. No, now you'll get sued if your dog is out running around and it bites somebody. But back then they used to just let the dog out, and everybody would say the same thing. Like a fly there, they would say, no, I didn't let it out. I opened up the door to walk it, and the dog ran. I couldn't get it. It just took off on me. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens once in a while that the dog would take off on you, but usually my experience was that the owners didn't feel like walking the dog, and they would just let it free. My grandfather would do that. My grandfather had a German Shepherd named Bruno. I don't know if it was named after the wrestler, but he had a dog, and he would let it out. He'd open up the gate, the dog would take off. And one time the dog bit somebody. Not, you know, it was kind of like a scratch, didn't penetrate. But they told my grandfather, that happens again, not only will you get fined, but we're going to put the dog down. So then my grandfather walked it. Yeah, I always wanted a dog. But, you know, the older I get, the more I realize the amount of, you know, work needed to keep a dog going. You know, like, you got to walk it, especially bigger dogs. Got to get the exercise in. You got to be home at a certain time. Dog has to go out and do its business. You can't say, who cares? You can't leave a dog home alone in your house. I know they made movies about dogs being alone, but they'll mess up the place, especially big dogs. Cats are different. Cats will find a corner. They'll sleep all day. You know, they get the water there. They'll get up slowly, drink a little water, have a little food, go back to sleep. Yeah, dogs will get restless. You know, but the benefit of a dog is that it misses you, and it can't wait for you to get home, and it shows it. Dog will show you warmth, where a cat looks at you and says, oh, you're back, good for you. They don't have that kind of brain, you know, where a dog feels you and you connect with a dog. I mean, I have cats, and you know, they're you know, very therapeutic. They're good company. They'll come, you know, next to you and squish in between you and another person and take a nap there. So, you know, they're good like that. But that emotional connection that a dog can give you, that doesn't exist with a cat. It does not. And here come more crows. It's what a fun thing to be a bird. But you can't grab anything, you know, with your, you know, It's like you can knock things around. I like that experiment or that video they have with a crow. There's like water. Crow's really thirsty, but the water's down here. And the crow looks around and figures out that if it takes pebbles and drops them in here, the water level will rise, and then the crow can get it. And so you see, and this is a real crow, not trained. This is just in nature. They're able to do this. Ravens, same thing. So the crow will find pebbles, bring them, and then all of a sudden the water's up here, and the crow will start dipping its beak. So crows are smart animals. But I don't know, you know, I mean, I wish I had those. That's why I like that paragliding stuff, or paramotor gliding, paramotoring, like the ones that have that big fan in the back, and then you do a little running start, and the canopy opens up, and then you hit the, you know, the whatever button that is that makes the fan spin faster, high position, and before you know it, you're going up. I mean, I'd love to get one of those, but on the downside, I have seen videos where the canopy collapses. Maybe there's an unseen breeze that hits it, and all of a sudden it collapses and you start dropping. I've seen people fall out of the sky, you know, not too high up, but I've seen them fall maybe 20 feet up, 30 feet up, and they smash into the ground. But if you fall 50 feet up, you're not going to make it. But it looks so much fun. I've watched a dude that would go up. He went up, I think if you look on YouTube and put paramotoring 15,000 feet, some guy went up there 15,000 feet and had coffee. Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. I would take one of those things and try and find some weird island. Problem is that I would probably run out of fuel halfway and fall into the ocean. So anyway, starting to get dark, see? That's because the earth is spinning and the sun is disappearing. But beautiful night tonight though. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll be back again later. Ciao.